Michael's mansion was the crown jewel of the city's wealthiest neighborhood. Inside its marble walls he stood tall, a man who had built an empire through relentless work and unyielding determination. Success, however, had its costs. Michael believed he had it all: wealth, respect, and a devoted wife by his side. But trust can be a dangerous thing. "Michael, is this what you imagined your life would be?" Rachel asked, her voice smooth, almost too calm. "It's everything I've ever worked for," Michael replied, adjusting his tie with a satisfied smile. "And I've done it all for us." Rachel nodded, her lips curling into a faint smile. To Michael it was a sign of agreement. To her it was the beginning of the end. Unseen by Michael, Rachel's nights often led her away from their home, to a quiet parking lot where her true intentions unfolded. She wasn't the loving partner he believed her to be. She was plotting, with someone far closer to him than he could ever suspect. And that night, as Rachel met Michael's younger brother, Terry, their whispers carried a deadly plan. A plan meant to erase Michael from the picture entirely. Rachel stepped out of her sleek black car, her heels clicking softly against the pavement of the empty supermarket parking lot. She spotted Terry leaning against a lamppost, his face shadowed but his intentions clear. "You're late," Terry said bluntly. "Michael has a dinner meeting tonight," Rachel replied curtly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I had to make sure he wouldn't suspect anything." Terry smirked. "As if he would. He trusts you completely. That's his first mistake." Rachel crossed her arms, her eyes cold. "Let's stay focused. The car is ready. Tomorrow morning he'll leave for his meeting as usual. The brakes will fail, and that's it. Nobody will question it." A chill silence hung in the air. Terry's expression hardened. "You're sure no one will suspect?" Rachel gave him a sharp look. "Are you having second thoughts?" "Not at all," Terry said with a dry chuckle. "By this time tomorrow the money will be ours. Michael's been sitting on that fortune long enough." Nearby, hidden behind a row of parked cars, a boy huddled low. William, just a teenager, had sought refuge in the parking lot for the night. The city streets were harsh, but nothing could prepare him for what he overheard. "Tampering with the brakes," he whispered to himself, his pulse quickening. Rachel's voice cut through the quiet. "Terry, don't mess this up. The plan has to be perfect. This is our only chance." "I'll handle it," Terry said with confidence. "By the time the accident happens, we'll be the only ones left to inherit his empire." William's hands trembled as he clutched his knees. He had no family, no home, and barely enough to survive. Yet he knew he couldn't stay silent. "They're planning to kill someone," he muttered, the weight of the realization sinking in. "I have to do something." Rachel and Terry parted ways, their goodbyes quick and businesslike. As Rachel walked back to her car, William's mind raced. His body screamed to stay hidden, to let the danger pass. But his conscience wouldn't allow it. He waited until Rachel started her car and drove off before making his move. With determination tightening his chest, William stepped out of the shadows and began following the car, keeping to the dark alleys and back streets. "I have to find out who this man is," he whispered to himself. "He has to know what's coming." As Rachel's car turned into a gated driveway, William stopped in his tracks, staring at the grand mansion before him. The tall iron gates, the glowing lights. It was a world far removed from his own. "That's him," William murmured. "Michael. The man they're planning to kill." The boy felt the enormity of his decision pressing on him. He was just a homeless kid. What reason would someone like Michael have to believe him? But William clenched his fists, forcing his fear aside. "I don't care if he doesn't believe me. I have to try." With that resolve, William disappeared into the night, determined to return the next day and warn the man whose life hung by a thread. The next morning, Michael's mansion stood serene under the early sunlight, unaware of the storm brewing. Inside, Michael prepared for his day, scrolling through his phone and sipping his coffee. His car was ready in the driveway, its polished surface gleaming, a symbol of his status. Outside the tall iron gates, William waited, his heart racing. He had spent the entire night rehearsing what to say. "What if he doesn't believe me?" he muttered. But the memory of Rachel and Terry's chilling plan pushed him forward. As Michael's car approached the gates, William sprang into action, darting in front of the vehicle and waving his arms. "Hey, stop! Please stop!" he shouted, his voice trembling but loud enough to grab Michael's attention. Michael slammed on the brakes, his irritation evident. Rolling down the window, he looked at the scruffy boy standing before him. "What on earth are you doing?" Michael asked, his tone sharp. "Sir, please, you're in danger," William blurted out, his words tumbling over each other. "Your wife and your brother, Terry, they're planning to kill you." Michael's brow furrowed. "What nonsense is this? Who are you?" "I heard them last night," William continued, desperation fueling his courage. "They're going to sabotage your car. They want you dead so they can take your money." Michael stared at the boy, incredulous. "You expect me to believe that my wife and my brother are plotting to kill me? That's absurd." "Please, just check your brakes," William insisted, his voice cracking. "I know I'm just a street kid, but I swear I'm telling the truth. You have to believe me." Michael hesitated. There was something in the boy's eyes, a mix of fear and urgency, that made him pause. Against his better judgment, he sighed and stepped out of the car. "All right, I'll humor you," Michael said, signaling his mechanic to inspect the car. Minutes felt like hours as William waited nervously. Finally, the mechanic returned, his face pale. "Sir," he said, his voice unsteady, "the brake lines have been tampered with. If you had driven this car, it wouldn't have stopped." Michael's expression froze. His world tilted as the mechanic's words sank in. He turned to William, now understanding the gravity of the boy's warning. "You saved my life," Michael said quietly, his voice laced with both gratitude and disbelief. William nodded, relief washing over him. "I had to. I couldn't let them get away with it." Inside the mansion, Michael paced the floor, his mind racing. Betrayal by his wife and his own brother. It was almost too much to comprehend. Yet, the evidence was irrefutable. "You said they talked about the brakes?" Michael asked, sitting across from William in his study. "Yes," William replied. "I heard everything. They said it would look like an accident. No one would suspect them." Michael clenched his fists. The betrayal cut deep, but he wasn't a man to crumble under pressure. "If they think they can take me down, they're sorely mistaken," he muttered, his voice cold. "What are you going to do?" William asked hesitantly. Michael leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "I'm going to turn their plan against them, but I'll need your help." William blinked in surprise. "Me? What can I do?" "You've already proven you're brave and resourceful," Michael said. "I need someone I can trust, and right now, that's you." A flicker of pride crossed William's face. "I'll do whatever it takes," he said firmly. Michael outlined the plan. First, he would change his will to ensure Rachel and Terry couldn't inherit a penny in the event of a suspicious death. Then, they would stage an accident, making Rachel and Terry believe their plan had succeeded. "They'll think I'm out of the picture," Michael explained, "but it will give me the chance to expose them for what they are." William nodded, understanding the risks. "What if they figure it out?" "They won't," Michael said confidently. "We'll make it look real, and when the time comes, they'll answer for their betrayal." The following days were tense as Michael and William prepared. Michael met with his lawyer in secret, ensuring the new will was airtight. Meanwhile, he coached William on every step of the plan. "You'll need to stay out of sight after the accident," Michael instructed. "They can't know you're involved." William nodded. "I understand. I'll be careful." On the night before the staged accident, Michael bid Rachel a calm farewell, hiding his knowledge behind a mask of indifference. "I'll be at the country house for a few days," he said. Rachel smiled sweetly, hiding her anticipation. "Take care, dear. Enjoy the rest." As Michael drove away, William waited at a predetermined spot. The boy climbed into the car, his heart pounding. "Ready, kid?" Michael asked, gripping the wheel. William nodded. "Let's do this." They drove to a deserted road where the scene was meticulously prepared. Michael set up a device to ignite the car, ensuring the wreckage would be unrecognizable. "Are you sure about this?" William asked, watching as Michael finalized the setup. "I have to be," Michael replied. "It's the only way to stop them." With the preparations complete, they retreated to a safe distance. Michael activated the device, and within moments the car erupted in flames, its fiery glow illuminating the night. William watched in awe and apprehension. "It looks so real," he murmured. "It has to," Michael said grimly. The next morning, news of the accident spread quickly. Rachel feigned shock, her performance flawless. But as she and Terry celebrated privately, confident their plan had succeeded, Michael and William watched from the shadows, ready for the next phase. Rachel sat in her lavish living room, a glass of wine in hand, her face a mask of feigned grief. News of Michael's accident had spread, and she had spent the day accepting condolences from friends and business associates. Behind closed doors, however, her true feelings surfaced. "It's done," Rachel whispered into her phone, her voice tinged with triumph. On the other end, Terry chuckled. "Finally, it went exactly as planned." "Soon, the estate and his entire fortune will be ours," Rachel said, her eyes gleaming. "Make sure you're ready. We'll need to meet with his lawyer to settle everything." Unbeknownst to them, their every move was being carefully observed. From a hidden vantage point, William relayed their conversations to Michael, who was safely in his hiding place. "They think you're gone," William reported, his voice steady but brimming with a sense of urgency. "Rachel's already talking about the inheritance." Michael leaned back in his chair, a cold determination in his eyes. "Good. The deeper they fall into their false sense of victory, the harder they'll fall when the truth comes out." Over the next few days, Rachel and Terry began to make their moves. They arranged meetings with Michael's lawyer, eagerly anticipating their claim to his wealth. William, tasked with tracking their actions, proved to be an invaluable ally. His streetwise instincts and sharp mind allowed him to stay undetected, feeding Michael every crucial detail. "They've set a meeting at the lawyer's office tomorrow," William said one evening. Michael nodded. "That's where it ends. Tomorrow they'll learn the cost of their betrayal." The next morning, Rachel and Terry arrived at the lawyer's office, both dressed in somber attire. To anyone watching, they appeared as grieving family members. Inside, however, their hearts raced with anticipation. "Thank you for meeting us on such short notice," Rachel said, her voice measured and polite. The lawyer, a seasoned professional with a stern demeanor, nodded. "Of course. We'll go over the will and discuss the next steps." As the lawyer began reading the document, Rachel's confidence grew with every mention of Michael's vast assets. She exchanged a subtle glance with Terry, the corners of her mouth twitching upward in satisfaction. "And now, a new clause recently added to the will," the lawyer continued, his tone suddenly heavier. Rachel and Terry's smiles faltered. "This clause specifies," the lawyer read, "that in the event of Michael's death under suspicious circumstances, the primary beneficiaries, his wife and brother, are excluded from the inheritance." Rachel's hand tightened around the armrest of her chair. "What? That's impossible!" she exclaimed, her composure slipping. Terry leaned forward, his face pale. "What do you mean? Michael never mentioned this." The lawyer's expression remained neutral. "It was his decision. The clause was added just days before his passing. It's legally binding." Rachel's voice rose, a mixture of disbelief and fury. "This is absurd. There must be a mistake." Before the lawyer could respond, the door to the office opened. All eyes turned toward the sound of deliberate footsteps. Michael walked in, alive and well, his gaze cold and unyielding. "Surprised to see me?" he asked, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Rachel froze, her face draining of color. Terry stumbled back, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. You're supposed to be dead," Rachel stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. Michael took a step closer, his presence commanding. "I know everything," he said, his tone calm but filled with fury. "Your plan to kill me, the tampered brakes, your greed." Terry tried to recover, his voice shaking. "Michael, it's not what you think." "Don't insult me with lies," Michael interrupted, his eyes narrowing. "You betrayed me, Terry. You, my own brother. And you, Rachel, the woman I trusted most in this world." Rachel's shock turned to desperation. "Michael, please, I can explain." "There's nothing to explain," Michael snapped. "You plotted to take my life for money. You betrayed everything we built together." At that moment, 2 police officers entered the room. Rachel and Terry's faces twisted in panic as the officers approached. "This is a misunderstanding," Rachel screamed, her composure unraveling. Michael crossed his arms, his gaze unwavering. "Save your lies for the courtroom." The officers handcuffed Rachel and Terry, their protests falling on deaf ears. As they were led away, Rachel turned back to Michael, her face a mask of rage and regret. "You can't do this to me," she shouted. "I loved you, Michael." Michael's voice was steady, devoid of pity. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have tried to kill me." As the door closed behind them, a heavy silence filled the room. Michael exhaled, the weight of the betrayal finally beginning to lift. William stepped into the room, his presence unnoticed until now. "It's over," he said quietly. Michael turned to the boy, his expression softening. "Thanks to you, it is." The aftermath of the confrontation left Michael in a solemn yet reflective state. As Rachel and Terry were taken away, the weight of their betrayal hung heavy in the air. But amid the pain, there was a glimmer of gratitude. He turned to William, the boy who had risked everything to save him. "You didn't have to do any of this," Michael said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Why did you?" William hesitated, shuffling his feet. "I've been invisible my whole life," he admitted. "People ignore me like I don't exist. But when I heard what they were planning, I knew I couldn't just walk away." Michael studied the boy, seeing something he hadn't noticed before: resilience, courage, and an innate sense of justice. "You have more integrity than most people I've known," Michael said. "And because of you, I'm still here. That means something." William looked down, overwhelmed by the praise. I just did what was right." Michael placed a hand on his shoulder, a rare gesture of warmth. "And that's why you'll never have to face this world alone again." That night, Michael brought William back to the mansion. For the first time in years, the grand home didn't feel empty. Over dinner, Michael shared his plans for the future. "You've got potential, William," Michael said, his tone serious but encouraging. "I want to give you a chance, a real chance, a home, an education, and maybe even a role in my company one day." William's eyes widened. "You mean, you want me to stay?" Michael nodded. "Not just stay. I want you to become part of my life, part of this family. You've earned it." Emotion welled up in William's chest. For a boy who had lived his entire life on the streets, the offer was almost too much to process. "I won't let you down," William said, his voice trembling with determination. "I know you won't," Michael replied. The weeks that followed marked a transformative period for both Michael and William. Michael, once consumed by work and blinded by misplaced trust, began to see life through a different lens. For the first time, he found purpose beyond his wealth, a chance to guide and nurture someone deserving. "You're going to learn everything," Michael said one morning as he walked William through his company's offices. "Not just the business side, but what it means to lead with integrity." William listened intently, absorbing every word. He had always been quick to learn, and now, with Michael's mentorship, he felt his confidence growing. At the mansion, Michael's life also took on a new rhythm. He and William spent evenings talking about life, lessons, and dreams. Their bond deepened with every shared moment. "You've given me a second chance," William said one night. "I want to make the most of it." Michael smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "You're not just making the most of it. You're making me proud." But the road wasn't without its challenges. Adjusting to a life of structure and responsibility was a new experience for William. One day, after a particularly grueling lesson, he sighed heavily. "This is harder than I thought," he admitted. "Anything worth having is," Michael replied, "but I'm here to help you through it." Slowly but surely, William adapted, his determination driving him forward. The mansion, once a symbol of isolation, became a home filled with laughter and hope. Michael, too, underwent a profound change. The betrayal he had endured left scars, but it also gave him clarity. He understood now that true wealth wasn't in assets or status, but in the relationships built on trust and loyalty. "You've changed my life, kid," Michael said one day, watching William pore over documents in the study. "More than I ever expected." "You've changed mine too," William replied without looking up, a small smile tugging at his lips. Months turned into years, and the once homeless boy grew into a confident young man. Under Michael's guidance, William began taking on more responsibilities, earning respect from those around him. One evening, as they stood on the balcony overlooking the estate, Michael spoke with a rare softness. "You've become everything I hoped you'd be," he said, "and more." William turned to him, his eyes filled with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you." Together they had forged a bond that transcended circumstance, a bond built on trust, respect, and shared resilience. For Michael, it was a redemption of sorts. For William, it was the life he had never dared to dream of. In the quiet glow of the setting sun, Michael placed a hand on William's shoulder. "Family isn't just about blood," Michael said. "It's about choice, and I choose you." William nodded, his heart full. "And I'll never let you down." The mansion, once a fortress of isolation, now stood as a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of loyalty, courage, and the belief that even the most unlikely of heroes can change the course of a life. Michael and William stood side by side in the study, the warmth of the room contrasting sharply with the cold betrayals of the past. Their journey together had been one of survival, trust, and transformation. "You saved me," Michael said, his voice steady but filled with gratitude. "And in doing so, you gave me a reason to live beyond my work." William smiled, his confidence shining through. "And you gave me something I thought I'd never have, a home and a future." The betrayal of Rachel and Terry had left scars, but it had also brought a profound clarity. For Michael, it was a painful reminder of how trust could be broken, but it also revealed the unyielding strength of loyalty when found in the most unexpected places. For William, it was proof that even someone from the darkest corners of society could rise above and create a new life. As they looked out over the estate, Michael spoke one last time. "This is just the beginning, William. Together we'll build something worth remembering, not just wealth, but a legacy of trust and hope." William nodded. "And I'll make sure we do." This story reminds us of the power of courage and loyalty. True family isn't about blood, it's about the choices we make and the bonds we build. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs a little inspiration, and subscribe to our channel for more moving stories like this. Thank you for watching, and may your journey be filled with hope, kindness, and unforgettable moments. See you next time.